Tonight is not just another night. March 26th carries a spiritual weight that cannot be ignored. If you feel unusually restless, fearful, or drained, know this. Spiritually weak people are being targeted for spells, manipulations, and unseen attacks. And while most are asleep or distracted, this night is your line between vulnerability and protection. Listen closely, because what you do in the next hours could protect your soul, your family, and your destiny. You must understand that March 26 is not an ordinary day. There is an energy that moves through the spiritual realm on this night, one that is subtle but powerful, one that seeks imbalance in the lives of those who are spiritually unprepared. Spiritually weak people are not targeted at random. They are noticed, and their vulnerabilities are amplified. It is as if the universe itself allows forces that would normally remain distant to come closer, testing the strength of your spirit. You may not see it with your eyes, and you may not feel it consciously, but it manifests in subtle ways. A heaviness in your chest, a sense of unease that you cannot explain, or a sudden drop in energy that leaves you feeling drained for no reason. These are not coincidences. They are signals, and ignoring them is the first mistake. Spiritual vulnerability does not appear overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, in the gaps where faith is neglected, where awareness of the unseen is dismissed, where protection is overlooked. Those who have ignored their inner alignment, who have allowed fear, doubt, or unresolved negativity to accumulate, find themselves like open windows to forces that wish them harm. On nights like March 26th, these forces do not need to work hard. They are drawn to those who have already left the doors unlocked. You might think, I've lived my life, why would this matter to me? But the spiritual world does not care about convenience or timing. It moves according to law and energy. And when the conditions are right, even a small weakness becomes a doorway for attack. It is important to recognize that being spiritually weak is not a permanent state. It is a condition, a position that can change with intention, prayer, and awareness. But without acknowledgement, this weakness becomes visible to energies that do not wish you well. On March 26th, this visibility is heightened. The night carries a vibration that amplifies spiritual activity. Forces that are normally subtle become sharper, more deliberate. That small doubt in your mind, the fleeting fear in your heart, the hesitation to stand firm in your truth, all of these are magnified. They are signals to you, but they are also signals to the unseen. And the unseen moves quickly. Understanding this is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to awaken you. To know that spiritually weak people are targeted is to recognize your responsibility over your own energy, your own alignment. If you do nothing, the night will pass, but the consequences may linger. If you act, even in small ways, you reclaim your power. This is why awareness, grounding, and protection are not optional. They are necessary. The first step is to see the night for what it is, to feel the weight of its energy, and to prepare your spirit to stand strong. The night watches, the forces move, and the spiritually unprepared are noticed. You need to understand that spiritual attacks do not always announce themselves loudly. They are subtle at first, almost invisible, and this is exactly why so many people fail to recognize them until it is too late. On nights like March 26th, spiritually weak individuals often show signs long before the full impact of a spell or attack takes hold, but these signs are easy to ignore if you are not paying attention. You might dismiss sudden fatigue as a long day, unusual fear as stress, or restless sleep as just an overactive mind, but these are warning signals. They are messages from the spiritual realm that your energy is being tested, that your balance has been noticed, and that forces are probing for weaknesses. The moment you begin to see these patterns, you take back the first measure of control over your own life. Physical symptoms often come first. You might feel heavy, sluggish, or suddenly exhausted, even if you have not exerted yourself. Your body becomes a mirror of what is happening spiritually, a reflection of the energy around you. Sometimes you may experience sudden headaches, sharp or unusual pains, or a feeling of tension that seems to have no explanation. These are not random. They are the energy of unseen forces pressing against the weak points in your spirit. They seek to drain your vitality because a drained body is easier to influence spiritually. This is why noticing these small changes matters. Ignoring them is like leaving the front door wide open while expecting no one to enter. Emotional shifts are just as telling. Anxiety, fear, irritability, and sudden sadness can creep in without reason. You may find yourself more reactive than usual, more doubtful, or feeling hopeless in situations where you normally would feel secure. These emotional fluctuations are not accidents. They are signs that your energy is being challenged. The enemy in the spiritual realm often works by creating internal chaos first, so that you question your own strength, your own faith, and your own clarity. Recognizing these emotions as signals rather than failures of character is the key to maintaining awareness and preparing protection. Spiritual signs are often the hardest to detect, but the most important. You might experience vivid or troubling dreams, a sense of being watched, or a sudden unease in places that normally feel safe. Perhaps certain people, conversations, or situations trigger feelings of dread that are disproportionate to reality. These are signals that your spiritual boundaries are being tested, that forces are moving around you in ways you cannot see but must acknowledge. Paying attention to these signs allows you to act before they manifest into larger problems. Recognizing the warning signs is the first step to reclaiming your power. If you notice fatigue, fear, irritability, or spiritual disturbance tonight, do not ignore it. These are not coincidences. They are signals that the unseen is moving, that the spiritually unprepared are being targeted, and that the moment to stand firm and protect yourself is now. Your awareness is the first line of defense. You must understand that spiritual attacks and spells are not random acts of chaos. They are deliberate, calculated, and they follow a pattern that the spiritually aware can recognize. On March 26th, these forces move with particular intensity, seeking out those whose energy is unprotected, whose faith is weak, or whose spiritual boundaries have been ignored. The mechanics of these attacks are subtle but precise. They do not always manifest as obvious harm immediately. Often they work through influence, manipulation, and the unseen connection between your spirit and the energy around you. Malicious energy is drawn to imbalance, to fear, to doubt, and to the unresolved negativity that exists in every human being. A spell is not merely a word or an action, it is a transfer of intention, a channeling of energy that seeks to disrupt your life, your health, your relationships, and your spiritual alignment. The person who casts it may be fueled by jealousy, envy, anger, or resentment. But even if the caster does not understand the spiritual laws themselves, the energy they release has consequences. Spiritually weak individuals act like magnets in these situations. Their fear, insecurity, and lack of grounding create openings, and the energy moves in with ease. That is why it is essential to recognize the difference between coincidence and deliberate targeting. If misfortune comes repeatedly, if fear seems unexplainable, or if relationships and opportunities begin to unravel without reason, these are not accidents. These are signals that someone or something is working against you in the spiritual realm. These attacks often operate in layers. First, they affect your mind and emotions, creating confusion, doubt, and anxiety. Once the mind wavers, the body becomes vulnerable. Energy drains, sleep becomes restless, and health may falter. Finally, the external world is influenced. Relationships strain, plans fail, and unexpected obstacles appear. The mechanics are simple. Weaken the internal first, then the external follows. This is why spiritually weak people feel as though everything is conspiring against them on nights like March 26th. It is not paranoia, it is reality. But there is a deeper principle to understand. Energy always responds to alignment. If your spirit is grounded, your mind is clear, and your intention is strong, these attacks lose power. They cannot penetrate a fortified heart or a disciplined mind. That is why awareness and protection are not just suggestions, they are vital practices. When you see how these mechanics work, you realize that the spiritual realm is organized, responsive, and governed by laws. It is not random luck, it is energy responding to conditions. Understanding the mechanics is not meant to frighten you, It is meant to empower you. When you know how energy moves, how intention manifests, and how weakness is exploited, you can protect yourself with clarity. You can reclaim control over your life, your mind, and your spirit. You can turn a night of potential vulnerability into a night of spiritual strengthening. The unseen moves with purpose, and tonight, it watches those who are unprepared. You must understand that awareness alone is not enough. Recognizing that spiritually weak people are targeted on nights like March 26th is vital, but recognition without action leaves you exposed. This is where spiritual armor comes into play. Spiritual armor is not a physical shield. It is a practice, a discipline, and a mindset that protects your energy from interference, manipulation, and harm. It begins with prayer, with intention, and with conscious connection to a higher power. Prayer is more than words. It is an alignment of your energy with protection, a declaration that you are not an open field for attack. A focused, intentional prayer acts as a barrier, repelling energies that seek to disturb your peace, clarity, and spiritual balance. Meditation is another essential tool. It may seem simple, but the act of grounding yourself, centering your thoughts, and observing your inner world with clarity creates a space that malicious forces cannot penetrate. When you meditate, you become aware of your energy, your aura, and your boundaries. You recognize when something foreign or intrusive enters your field. Meditation strengthens your mind to resist fear and doubt, which are the primary entry points for spiritual interference. On nights like March 26th, even a brief period of mindful grounding can make a profound difference, creating a protective field around you that others cannot see, but that the unseen recognizes immediately. Awareness is not just internal, it is practical and actionable. Visualize yourself surrounded by light, by energy that cannot be broken. Imagine a shield that envelops your body, your mind, and your spirit. This visualization, when done with focus and faith, reinforces your energy in the spiritual realm, signaling that you are not vulnerable. Small rituals, simple protective prayers, or even intentional declarations of faith act as spiritual markers, alerting the forces around you that you are aware and fortified. They may seek weaknesses elsewhere because they cannot breach a prepared spirit. Consistency is also key. Spiritual armor is strengthened through repeated practice, not one-time effort. By developing a routine of prayer, meditation, and protection, you train your spirit to remain resilient, even when external circumstances are chaotic. On a night like March 26th, the forces at work are not easily deterred, but they are responsive to energy that is disciplined, aligned, and intentional. When you combine awareness with action, you shift from being a target to being a force of your own spiritual authority. This is why preparation matters. Spiritual armor is not about fear. It is about power, clarity, and control. It is about standing strong when the unseen moves, knowing that you are not helpless, and that every action you take to protect your energy strengthens your spirit for the battles that may come. On nights of heightened spiritual activity, those who prepare are not just safe, they grow stronger, more attuned, and more capable of resisting interference. Prayer, meditation, and awareness are your shield, and tonight, this shield is your most powerful ally. You need to understand that ignoring March 26th is not a small oversight. It is a risk. Many people treat nights like this as ordinary, as if the world is no different than any other day. But the spiritual realm does not follow our calendar or our schedules. Nights of heightened spiritual energy, like March 26th, carry forces that are deliberate, focused, and precise. Spiritually weak individuals are not just more likely to be noticed, they are more likely to be exploited. Ignoring this night, dismissing it as coincidence or superstition, leaves you exposed to interference that can affect your mind, your heart, your body, and even your future. The danger is not always immediate, but it accumulates quietly, like a shadow stretching slowly across your life, unseen until it is too late. You may ask, why is this night different? Why does ignoring it matter? The answer lies in alignment and awareness. When you are spiritually unprepared, your defenses are low. Forces that would normally struggle to gain influence find a clear path. They enter subtly at first, in ways that feel almost natural: restlessness, anxiety, fleeting doubt, minor obstacles that pile up. If ignored, these small intrusions grow stronger, creating a chain reaction. Relationships are strained, decisions become clouded, and opportunities are blocked without any obvious explanation. What started as something minor can become a long-term struggle that affects your spiritual, emotional, and even physical well-being. Ignoring this night is not just neglect. It is opening yourself to unnecessary challenges that could have been prevented with awareness and action. The key is that vulnerability attracts attention. The spiritually unprepared, those who do not maintain consistent practice, prayer, or mindfulness, send signals into the spiritual realm. These signals are subtle, but they are clear to the unseen. Forces that seek imbalance are drawn to them, and March 26th magnifies this effect. You cannot rely on chance or luck to protect you. This night is a test, a threshold, and how you respond will determine whether you remain vulnerable or rise into protection and strength. Many will sleep through it, unaware of the energy that moves around them, and they will face consequences they never anticipated. Those who are alert, who take even small actions of prayer, reflection, and protection, disrupt this process entirely. Ignoring this night also means ignoring your responsibility over your own energy. Spiritual weakness is not a fate, it is a condition, and nights like March 26th expose it. To neglect preparation is to accept weakness rather than challenge it. The forces that move tonight are responsive. They are not mindless. They seek openings, and they move where resistance is absent. Every hour spent unaware is an hour where your spiritual balance is at risk. Understanding the danger is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to awaken you. Awareness creates power. By acknowledging the significance of this night, you reclaim authority over your spirit and energy. To ignore it is to surrender that authority. You must understand that even in the face of spiritual attacks, even when the night feels heavy and the forces seem overwhelming, you are not powerless. Spiritually weak people are targeted, yes, but this does not mean your destiny is fixed or that your energy cannot be reclaimed. This night is not only a night of risk, it is also a night of opportunity. Every challenge in the spiritual realm carries within it the seed of empowerment. When you act intentionally, when you pray, protect, and align your spirit, you are not just defending yourself, you are reclaiming strength that may have lain dormant for far too long. Empowerment begins with action. Prayer is not a passive act. It is an assertion of your authority over your own life. It aligns your energy, clears your mind, and establishes a protective barrier that even unseen forces must respect. When you pray with intention, with awareness, with conviction, you are telling the spiritual realm that you will not be moved, that your spirit is grounded, and that your life is under divine oversight. This is the first step in transforming vulnerability into strength. But action alone is not enough. Awareness must accompany effort. You must know your own spiritual state, recognize your weak points, and confront them. Meditation, reflection, and focused intention allow you to see where your energy may have been scattered or neglected. When you identify these areas, you can fortify them, creating a shield that is not just reactive, but proactive. This is the essence of empowerment, to transform fear into vigilance, confusion into clarity, and weakness into strength. On March 26, the spiritually unprepared are visible to forces that seek disruption. The spiritually prepared, however, radiate an energy that is impenetrable, that commands respect, and that shifts the balance of the night itself. Empowerment also comes from understanding your responsibility. You are the guardian of your own energy, the steward of your own spirit. Nights like this remind us that protection is not optional. It is not fear. It is wisdom. Those who take it seriously not only survive, they thrive. Every intentional prayer, every protective ritual, every moment of awareness strengthens your spiritual muscle. It builds resilience that lasts far beyond a single night, shaping your life in ways that are profound and lasting. Finally, empowerment is a choice. You can choose to remain passive, to hope that circumstances or luck will shield you, or you can choose to act, to assert your spiritual authority, and to reclaim your destiny. The forces that move tonight may test you, but they cannot conquer you if you stand firm, if you align with higher energy, and if you refuse to surrender your power. This is the transformative truth. Vulnerability is not destiny. Action is. Weakness can be overcome. Fear can be replaced by faith. And a night that threatens disruption can become a night of strengthening, of clarity, and of spiritual growth. Tonight, take your power, reclaim your strength, stand unshakable.